Welcome to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy. Alright, let's talk about the Power Broker, the mysterious new villain in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now I think the Power Broker is going to be more than just a random bad guy. This is going to be a character that we've seen on screen for years. Now, I know that during WandaVision we all got caught up with, maybe it's Mephisto or Dormammu or a host of other potential villains. Now that was just good, clean nerd fun, but none of those theories were true. The Power Broker is different, because this is a confirmed mystery villain that we actually know exists on the show. So I've got some pretty hot theories on who I think this is, but first, a little background and catch up on where we are in the show. In the comics, the Power Broker runs a business that enhances humans, giving them super strength. Now, he did this for lots of heroes and villains such as John Walker, Sharon Ventura, D-Man, US military soldiers, and a whole slew of professional wrestlers. This proliferation of enhanced individuals by private industry creates a contrast to Captain America, an enhanced individual who acts for the common good and not for his own profit.
The price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay.
In the show, Power Broker has successfully replicated some kind of super soldier serum, like people have been trying to do for years.
So this Dr. Banner was trying to replicate the serum they used on me?
A lot of people were.
You know, in a way, Steve Rogers' blood is like Iron Man's armor. People are trying to replicate the technology for personal or political profit.
You know, I really miss the days when the weirdest thing science ever created was me.
We've already seen Hydra replicate Steve's blood in Civil War, but the soldiers who took his blood became overly aggressive and insane. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Power Broker seems to have cracked the code and found a way to create these enhanced individuals. After all, in a world filling up with superpowered people, the only way to have power is to be super. Carly Morgenthau and the other Flag Smashers have taken some of the serum, and she even received a text from the Power Broker that indicates that they've stolen even more. So, who is the Power Broker? Well, it could just be some guy, but come on, that's lame. There's also Cap villains from the comics that we haven't seen yet, like Alexander Lucan, the Hate Monger, Serpent Society, but consider this quote from series writer Derek Kolstad. On the Script Apart podcast, he said,
There are characters from the earliest of the Marvel movies that are coming back, and they're layering them in and reinventing them in such a way that it's going to kind of shift the storytelling structure, which is awesome.
So, I'm going to throw out some very strong possibilities based on this quote. Number 1, the leader. Now, you may not remember, but way back in 2008, Bruce Banner was working to cure himself with a cellular biologist named Samuel Stearns. When Bruce finally arrives at Culver University, where he gives pizza to Roger Harrington from the Spider-Man movies, he is alarmed to discover that Stearns is replicating his blood.
You don't understand the power of this thing. It is too dangerous. It cannot be controlled.
Because it turns out that he has a secret interest in replicating the accident that turned Bruce into the Hulk. Later, Tim Roth and his horrible CGI abs demand that he use the machine on him, even though
The mixture could be an abomination.
When the scene ends, we see Stearns' serum mutating his brain, an origin story for the comic book villain The Leader. Now in the comics, this is Hulk's gamma-irradiated counterpart, but instead of super strength, he has super intelligence. This character would have been the main villain of The Incredible Hulk 2, but instead, he and the Abomination have just been out there waiting to return. So we know that Samuel Stearns is a sneaky sneak, and he wants to augment people, and he has super intelligence. He could be creating enhanced individuals for money to fund his own experiments. But another, more likely culprit is Thaddeus Ross, who I think is going to be a key figure in Marvel Phase 4. Ross also first appeared in The Incredible Hulk, hunting down Banner, who he thought was a threat to world security.
Your target is a fugitive from the U.S. government.
Should be an incredible danger as long as she's with him.
So, in an attempt to stop the Hulk, he augments Emil Blonsky with leftover super soldier tech from the war. Now, we all know that backfired when Blonsky became the Abomination.
Is that all you've got?
Ross went on to become Secretary of State and spearheaded the Sokovia Accords, the ultimate tool to control superpowered people.
They'll operate under the supervision of a United Nations panel only when and if that panel deems it necessary.
Ross is obsessed with controlling people with powers. We saw in Infinity War that he cared more about reeling in the Avengers than protecting Earth from an alien invasion.
The world's on fire. And you think all's forgiven?
Now, according to the Avengers Endgame screenplay, Ross was blipped. Now, they might change that in this show, but let's assume it's still true. Ross, as Secretary of State, was probably working on a way for the government to create and control new enhanced people, his own army of supes to counteract the rogues like Steve Rogers and Wanda Maximoff. In the comics, similar experiments even led to him becoming the Red Hawk, which I think would be awesome to see in the MCU. Now, I've thought for a long time that Ross will eventually create his own Avengers team called the Thunderbolts, named after himself, General Thunderbolt Ross. Now, this is also based on a couple of different comics. The Thunderbolts is about a team of supervillains masquerading as heroes, and the Dark Avengers are Norman Osborn's team of secret villains that he formed into the Avengers under his control. So, Thaddeus Ross is working on this enhancement apparatus. He's blipped, the government scraps the program. But he comes back, he's no longer Secretary of State, and he restarts the program on his own. Eventually, this will lead to the creation of the Thunderbolts. But my final theory, which I think is the most likely and the most fun, is that the power broker has secretly been Arnim Zola all along.
What?
You'll remember that Zola was the Red Skull's Hydra scientist back in World War II.
The energy we have just collected could power my designs. All my designs.
Here's how smart this guy is. He was able to harness the power of the Tesseract to create weapons, something that neither Howard Stark nor S.H.I.E.L.D. 70 years later was able to do. So in other words,
My boy's wicked smart.
when Steve rescues Bucky, we see that Zola was already trying to augment him. This work would continue when Bucky was captured by Hydra and given a modified super soldier serum. So Zola
Wicked smart.
is also into enhancing people. And of course, we all remember from Winter Soldier that Zola was recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. and secretly formed Hydra within the organization.
Looking for Dr. Zola, have you seen him?
Because he's off reforming Hydra somewhere, you drunk. After his death in the 70s, Zola was able to preserve his consciousness on reels and reels of magnetic tape, which were destroyed. Alexander Pierce even said,
They already cost me Zola.
implying that he was dead forever. But here's the thing. If Zola is so wicked smart that he was literally a century ahead of his time with the Tesseract and AI, so smart that he was able to create an algorithm that would predict
Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat.
I gotta believe he had a backup. Some way of preserving his mind that would outlast these computers. In the comics, Zola transformed his mind into an AI and walks around in a robot body with his face on the belly. Like Krang, but German.
First correction, I am Swiss.
Whatever. They've been hinting at this since his first appearance in First Avenger when we first see him magnified through this glass. So, bring this to present day. If Zola's algorithm could predict that Stephen Strange would be a threat back when he would have only been like 4 years old, then Zola would have been able to plan for the outbreak of superpowered individuals. He would have created a plan to carry on his consciousness and a way to create and control his own network of enhanced humans. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, our first encounter with the power broker is through a screen, just like Arnim Zola. There has also been a rumor that Toby Jones would appear in this series, but one of the best pieces of evidence is that there is no evidence at all. If Tim Blake Nelson or William Hurt were filming on set, word would have leaked out. But if Toby Jones is playing an AI in a robot body, then he would be filming alone, skeleton crew in front of a green screen, similar to how Robert Downey Jr. filmed Iron Man's helmet cams. Bringing Arnim Zola in would bring these characters full circle. Sam met Steve while he was running from Zola's algorithm.
We need a place to lay low.
Everyone we know is trying to kill us.
But also, Zola is responsible for every bad thing that's happened in Bucky's life.
The last guy you cost us was Captain Rogers, his closest friend, so I wouldn't count on the very best of protection.
Maybe Bucky gets a chance to destroy Zola, but then forgives him.
I'm James Bucky Barnes, and you're part of my efforts to make amends.
That could be the final step to making amends for what he's done. And if Sam and Bucky are able to team up and defeat the villain that Steve never could,
We won, Captain.
then it helps them both move out from under his shadow. This would also tie in neatly with John Walker, the new Captain America. In episode 2, we hear that Walker isn't a super soldier.
I don't have the flashiest gadgets, I don't have super strength.
And we also saw Sam, in the trailer, practicing with the shield. So what if Sam at some point overpowers Walker and takes the shield? Then Walker would vow to get it back, to become more powerful, by turning to the power broker. If he got his abilities from Ross, he would join the Thunderbolts. But if he gets them from Zola, then it brings this whole series full circle. Steve volunteered for an experiment to gain powers. So would Walker. Zola experiments on Bucky and on Walker. Zola recreated Hydra through S.H.I.E.L.D., and now he can recreate it through Walker. But what do you think? Let me know your theories in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.